Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel CMA Club. Myself Vaibhavi Thakur, and today I am going to start with the third lecture of Sale of Goods Act 1930. So we ended with section 25 subsection 3. Now we are starting with effect of distraction of goods. As per section 26 of the Act, unless otherwise agreed, the goods remains at a seller's risk until the property therein is transferred to the buyer. But when the property in goods is transferred to the buyer, the goods are at a risk of buyer whether the delivery of the good has been made or not. Unless it is agreed, goods will remain with the seller till the property of goods transferred to the buyer. And when the property is transferred, then whether the goods are with the seller or not, it will be at risk of the buyer. Thus, the risk prima facie passes with the property unless and otherwise agreed by the parties. So, as the delivery has taken place, the risk of the goods will also pass to the buyer. In other words, the parties may in contract have different stipulation as to time of passing risk irrespective of what is provided in section 26 of the Act. So it depends on the buyer and the seller that when to pass the property or when to deliver the goods. Risk prima facie passes with property exception. Now there are some exceptions. The rule regarding risk passes with the property insurance section 26 is subject to the following exception. So the first exception is this rule of 26 will apply only if there is no agreement to the contrary. So if there is no agreement and nothing is written regarding the delivery of the goods or any conditions, then that thing will apply, otherwise not. It is permissible for the parties to provide in the agreement that although the property does not pass, the risk passes, and they may fix the point of time when it is to pass. So, even if the property hasn't passed to the buyer, the risk will pass. It will depend upon the each contract and each condition. Where the delivery has delayed through the fault of either party, the buyer or the seller. So the delivery has delayed due to either the buyer or the seller. The goods are at a risk of the the goods are at a risk of the party at fault as regards any loss which might not have been incurred but for such fault. So if there is a fault of a buyer and he could not, or there is a fault of the seller and he could not deliver the goods on time, then the risk will be with the person who could not make the delivery on time or who is in fault. If there is a custom in that particular trade, the risk does not pass with the property. In such case, risk will pass as per the customs. So if there is a custom involved in it, then the risk will not pass when there is a transfer of property. At that time, risk will not pass. It will pass as per the terms of the custom. Next, risk and property may be separated by agreement between the parties. Section 40 of the Act also provides that where the seller agrees to deliver the goods at his own risk at a distant place from where they are, the buyer shall, unless otherwise agreed, not take any risk of deterioration in the goods incidental to the transit. So when the seller agrees or he takes the risk to deliver the goods at a distant place far away from where the seller are, then buyer should not take any risk of deterioration of goods incidental to the transit. So if there is a deterioration in goods during the transit, buyer should not take the risk regarding that. But if it is agreed, then the buyer have to take that risk, otherwise not. Next, transfer of title by non-owners of the goods. As per Section 27 of Sale of Goods Act, where the goods are sold by a person who is not the owner thereof and who does not sell them under the authority or with the consent of the owner, the buyer acquires no better title of goods than the seller had. So in this case, if the seller is not involved here, the other person, the third person is involved and he is selling the goods to the buyer, then the buyer will not get the better title of goods than the actual seller had, unless the owner of the goods is by conduct precluded from denying the seller's authority to sell. A buyer cannot get a good title to the goods unless he purchase goods from a person who is the owner thereof and sell them under the authority or with the consent of the real owner. So a buyer cannot get a good title of goods if he has not purchased those goods from the owner and neither the person who is the real owner of the goods or with the consent of the owner. Nemo dat cure non habet means that no one can give what he himself doesn't have. So if a person does not have anything, how can he give it to the other one? It means a non-owner cannot make a valid transfer of property in goods. So the person who is not the owner of the goods, how he will make the delivery or transfer of property of goods? Then the buyer will not get the better title of goods. If the title of the seller is defective, the buyer's title will also be subject to the same defect. If the seller has no title, buyer does not acquire any title, although he might have acted honestly and might have acquired the goods after the due payment. So here, if the buyer purchases from the known owner, person who is not the actual owner of the goods, he purchased the goods from him, then he will not get a better title if that non-owner is defective, if his title is defective. And if the seller does not have any title, that is the known owner does not have any title, then the buyer will also not get any title. Even if the buyer has acted honestly, then also he will not get any title. This rule is to protect the real owner of the goods. This rule is made to protect the real owner of the goods. If the non-owner has given the same rights that the real owner has, then it will be unfair for the real owner. He will not be able to sell his own goods. Accordingly, the Act provides following exemptions. Now, there is exception for this doctrine. So, the first one is sale by mercantile agent. So, here, the doctrine is that if the person who is not the real owner of the goods or who is the non-owner of the goods, then the buyer will not get the better title. But there are some exceptions where the buyer can get the better title. So the first one is sale by a mercantile agent. If the mercantile agent is authorized by the owner of the goods to sell on his behalf, then such sale will be valid. In such cases, the buyer can acquire a good title of goods. So if there is a sale by mercantile agent who is selling the goods on behalf of the main owner, the real owner, then it is acceptable. Then the buyer can acquire the good title of goods. Next is transfer of title by estoppel. This exception is based on the principle of personal estoppels. Sometimes real owner may lead the buyer by virtue of his conduct or words by acts or belief that the seller is the owner of the goods or has authority to sell them. In such cases, he may not thereafter deny the seller's authority to sell. So, if the seller conveys to the buyer that I am the real owner of the goods, okay, or he acts in such a way that the buyer have to accept that he is the owner of the goods, then the buyer cannot deny the seller's authority to sell the goods to him. Next, sale by a joint owner. As per section 28, it is if there are several joint owner of the goods, one of them if has sole possession of goods by permission of the co-owners, then the property in goods is transferred to any person who buys them from such joint owner. In order to apply this exception, following conditions must be fulfilled. So here, several joint owners are involved in the contract of sale. I can say that it maybe it's a partnership or any other association where several co-owners are involved. Several owners are involved. They are joint owners. And here is a case where the goods are in possession of only one owner, sole owner, who is possessing the goods by the permission of co-owners. He has the permission of all the co-owners to possess those goods. Then the property in goods will transfer to any person who buys them. So the property will be transferred to the person who is the buyer. In order to apply this exception, following conditions must be fulfilled. But there are some conditions which must be fulfilled to accept this exception. The first one is one of the several owners must be in sole possession of goods. So one owner must have the possession of goods. The joint owner must have permission of the co-owners. So the person who has the possession of goods, he must have the permission of all the owners. The buyer must purchase the goods in good faith. The buyer should not have notice regarding the matter that the seller has no authority to sell. So, buyer should not have the notice that this person does not have the authority to sell. Otherwise, this exception will not be applied. Next, sale by the person in possession under the voidable contract. According to section 29, a person in possession of goods under a voidable contract which is not rescinded. A contract is voidable but it is not rescinded, it is not get over, can transfer the good title to the buyer. So they can transfer good title to the buyer. The buyer should purchase the goods in good faith and without the notice of the seller's defective title. So, if the buyer is purchasing goods with good faith and he does not have the notice that the seller has a defective title, then this exception is acceptable if the contract is voidable and it is not get over or it is not completed or rejected, I would say. Sell by the seller in possession after sale. Under section 30, subsection 1, it is laid down that where a person has sold the goods but he continues in possession of the goods or of the document of title of the goods, he may sell them to the third person. And if such person obtains the delivery thereof in good faith without the notice of the previous sale, the person can get a good title to them. So here, if the sale has taken place but the seller or the person has the possession of goods or the document of title of the goods, then he can resell it to the third person. And if the third person obtains the delivery, takes the delivery in good faith without giving the notice of previous sale, then he can get the good title. Now, to apply this exception, there is a condition that the seller must be in possession of goods after the sale and there must be delivery or transfer of goods or documents of title by the seller. So this must have to with the seller and the delivery must take place. Sale by the buyer in possession after sale. Under section 30 subsection 2, it is laid down that where a buyer having bought or having agreed to buy the goods obtains with the consent of the seller in possession of goods or document of title to the goods, he can resell the goods to a bona fide transfer. If at the time of this sale the buyer was not in possession, then this exception will not apply. So if there is a contract of sale and buyer has a transfer of ownership is transferred to the buyer, then he can resell it to the other person. But it will not be applied, this exception will not be applied if the buyer does not have possession of goods. Even after sale. Sale by unpaid seller. If the unpaid seller has exercised right of lien or stoppage in transit, resell the goods, then the buyer acquires good title as against the original buyer, even though the resale is not justified in circumstances. So here the unpaid seller, the seller did not get the money of the goods, then he has a right to resell the goods. Exception under other acts. According to some acts, a person, although he is not the owner of the goods, may sell the goods and pass a better title than he himself has. Okay, so if the person is not the real owner of the goods, even then he can sell the goods and pass a better title. Where number 1 is under section 169 of Indian Contract Act. A finder of the goods has a right to say. So we learnt in the Indian Contract Act under section 169 that a person who is a finder of the goods, or where the goods is lost and the person who got the goods, that is the finder, and a finder of a good has the right to sell. He has a right to sell those goods. Under section 179 of Indian Contract Act, a pony of a good has a right to sell the goods pawn subject to satisfying some conditions. So after satisfying some conditions, the pony also has a right to sell the goods. In certain cases, a special right of sale is given to the officers of the court, liquidators of the companies, receivers of the insolvent estate. Custom officers for dues and duties remain unpaid. So this person had got the authority to sell the goods. They has a special right of sale. A person who takes a negotiable instrument in good faith and for the value becomes true owner even if he takes it from a thief or the finder. So if a person gets a negotiable instrument in good faith, then he can sell the goods even if that negotiable instrument is taken from a thief or a finder. Now 2.3 Conditions and warranties. So what is condition? As per section 12 subsection 2, a condition is a stipulation essential to the main purpose of the contract, the breach of which gives rise to a right to treat the contract as repudiated. It is of the fundamental nature, for breach of which the buyer can repudiate the contract. So the buyer can cancel the contract if there is a breach of contract. That is called condition. It is the main purpose of the contract. And if there is a breach of contract, then the buyer will get the right to treat the contract as repudiated. Either the buyer or the seller. Next is warranty, section 12 subsection 3. It is a stipulation collateral to the main purpose of the contract, breach of which gives rise to claim for the damages and not for a right to reject the goods or the treat the contract as repudiated. So if in case of warranty, it is a collateral to the main purpose, and if there is a breach of contract in that, then the person can claim for the damages only. They cannot reject the goods or treat the contract as repudiated. Now there is a difference between the condition and the warranty. First is, it is a stipulation which is essential to the main purpose of contract, but the warranty is collateral to the main purpose of contract. The aggrieved party can repudiate the contract of sale in case there is a breach of condition. So, if there is a breach of condition, then the party can repudiate it. But in case of warranty, the party can only claim for the damages. A breach of condition may be treated as a breach of warranty. So, breach of condition can be treated as breach of warranty, but breach of warranty cannot be treated as breach of condition when condition to be treated as warranty. Section 13 provides that where a contract of sale is subject to any condition to be fulfilled by the seller, the buyer may waive the condition or elect to treat the breach of condition as a breach of warranty and not as a ground for treating the contract as repudiated. So, if there is any condition to be fulfilled by the seller, when condition to be treated as warranty, Section 13 provides that where a contract of sale is subject to any condition to be fulfilled by the seller, buyer may waive the condition or elect to treat the breach of condition as a breach of warranty and not as a ground for treating the contract as repudiated. So, if the seller has to fulfill some condition of the buyer, then the buyer can opt for the warranty and not for the condition, and he can claim only for the damages and cannot treat the contract as repudiated, not severable, and the buyer has accepted the goods or part thereof. So, if the goods are not separable for condition and warranty, and a part of those goods has been accepted by the buyer, then this condition has to be